We've all played a racing game at some point in our lives, and they're all pretty similar to one another. You put the disc in, pick your car, and play the game.
I fucking hate this.
But what if picking a car wasn't that simple? What if the only car that you could choose was a shitty ass Toyota that nobody wants? What if in order to get a car that's fun to drive, you had to either pay the price of nearly a full AAA game or just grind for around 20 hours to get it for free? Well, then you have Gran Turismo 7 in a nutshell. The Gran Turismo series is a gaming staple at this point. It dominated the racing genre for nearly a decade, from the PS1 all the way to the PS3. Nowadays, Forza has definitely given it a run for its money, but even with that competitor, Gran Turismo is still a big deal. Hell, I'm not even that big of a racing fan, and I've only really ever played Mario Kart, if that even counts, but I've still heard about Gran Turismo, and have even tried the games out a few times, specifically Gran Turismo 3 for the PS2. It's been nearly a decade without a mainline entry in the Gran Turismo franchise. Sure, Sport did alleviate some of the weight, but it still wasn't a mainline entry. 7 is the game that people have been waiting for. And as of March 4th, that wait has finally ended, as the newest installment has released to generally favorable reviews. Just don't look over here. Now, I haven't played this game and I don't plan on buying it anytime soon, but by all accounts, it has great gameplay, so it makes sense that the critics would be giving it such high praise, but that just makes you wonder, what the hell is going on over here? We're just taking a quick glance over at the user reviews, and you can quickly tell what most people are having a problem with, which is this fucking thing. This plague that has been spreading across the industry for the past decade. Now, just a bit of context to catch anybody up who hasn't been following the story. Gran Turismo 7 came out on March 4th, but critics for the game got to play it about a week early to get the reviews out. In that time, there was no microtransactions in the game. They were disabled, so reviews made no mention of them since they didn't know, and had nothing but praise for the game, which led to this Metacritic score. Then finally, March 4th is here, and the game comes out for everyone. A bunch of people buy it, some likely because they saw the good reviews it was getting, and with all those sales and good PR, Sony then turns on the microtransactions, and all hell breaks loose. Sony purposefully waited until the review period for the game was over so that none of them could mention the microtransactions, only then to con everyone and turn the microtransactions on that they know not one fucker likes. And it's not like they're fairly priced. Look at this shit. $3 for 100,000 credits, $5 for 250,000 credits, $10 for 750,000 credits, and $20 for 2 million credits. Now, there are multiple issues with this. First of all, why the fuck is the $20 bundle in the middle instead of the edge? That pisses me off on an OCD level. Second of all, these prices are fucking cancerous for a game that costs 70 goddamn dollars to start with. Microtransactions in a free game, I'll give you an angry look, but I'll let it slide as long as it's not pay to win. But for a game that's 70 fucking dollars, I will defile your corpse. When you pay that price for fucking anything, you should be getting a complete package, not a fucking starting point for you to pay to unlock everything that the game has to offer. But don't worry, because it gets worse. Somehow. Now, to unlock a high-end car in Gran Turismo 7, it'll cost you around 3 million credits per car. Now, if you remember how many credits you get per pack, you had 100k, 250k, 750k, and 2 million. Have you spotted the problem yet? Have you spotted a problem with one car costing you 3 million and these being the only packs that you can buy? I'm sure you've spotted it by now, but I'm going to explain it either way. So the only way for you to get enough credits to buy one $3 million car is to overspend and buy two $20 packs. Meaning that a car that should cost you $30 actually cost you $40. Because they just needed that 10 extra dollars. They couldn't live with themselves if they didn't get those 10 extra bones. This is the scummiest way to go about monetizing your game. Not only are you asking for $70 up front, but then you are dangling the cars that everybody wants and then reaching your hand out for $40 more as if the 70 wasn't enough. And I have even mentioned that in their last game, GT Sport, cars costed anywhere from $1 to $5, and the game on top of that costed $60, making it a far more reasonable price. But here, in 7, they have more than tripled the prices. And it's not even fucking worth it. The cars you buy in the game only go up to 2017. For some reason, there's none that go up to the 2020s. So you're paying $40 for a car that's around 5 fucking years old. That is fucking outrageous, and it 100% deserves the absolute nuke that it is getting on Metacritic. Now, fanboys will spout the same old bullshit to protect their holy Sony, who doesn't give any fucks about them, by saying bullshit like, well, just grind for cars. Okay, let's grind for them. Let's see how long it takes to grind for them. So in the original game, back on the PS1, you know, when gaming was still good, it would take you around an hour to unlock one high-end car, which is a perfectly fine amount of time. Now we see this number go up over time. Gran Turismo 2 took 1.5 hours, Gran Turismo 4 took 2.7, Gran Turismo 6 took 5.8, Gran Turismo 3 took 7.5, Gran Turismo Sport took 9.9, and Gran Turismo 5 took about 23 hours. Now I know that's a lot, but you have to take into account that back in Gran Turismo 5's prime, the game would give you boosters and daily login bonuses, making those 23 hours look closer to around 10 hours. Now let's take a look at Gran Turismo 7, the latest installment. It'll take you around 10 hours to grind for one high-end car. Now you might say, what's the big deal? Gran Turismo Sport and Gran Turismo 5 took that long, and nobody complained there. Well, it wasn't a big deal. Until recently. Update 1.07 added a broadcast option, fixed issues with licenses and missions, and decreased the amount of credits you get per race. As you can see here, what once gave you 65,000 credits now gives you 30,000. What once gave you 75,000 now gives you 50,000. What once gave you 35,000 now gives you 12,000. And we see this trend across the board except for a few races. So now with that 1.7 patch coming out, how long does it take to grind for one car? Well, it went from 10 hours to 18. Or you could just skip that grind for the low price of $40. Which do you prefer? I prefer not buying the game at all and boycotting it. Now, Polyphony has responded to this controversy in an excellent, well thought out letter that perfectly quells all of the outrage.
In GT 7 I would like to have users enjoy lots of cars and races even without microtransactions.
Then what the fuck?
At the same time, the pricing of cars is an important element that conveys their value and rarity, so I do think it's important for it to be linked with real-world prices.
Ah, yes, the real world. I love it when my games simulate the real world, especially in a game where the entire selling point is being able to drive cars that you'll likely never get to drive in real life due to their prices. Don't you love it when you're not allowed to drive said car in that game? This is just about one of the worst arguments I've seen when it comes to a topic like this. I am currently playing a video game. I'm not trying to buy a car in real life. I'm trying to experience what it's like to use one of those high-end cars in a fictional video game. I already gave you the $70. Let me drive the car. If I wanted to simulate what it's like to buy a car in real life, guess what I do? I buy a fucking car in real life. What the fuck are we going to simulate next? Gas prices? Am I only going to be able to drive one of these cars for 3 hours and then have to cough up $30 more to refuel? Oh, I died in this first-person shooter. Now I'm not allowed to play it anymore because it simulates how fragile the human life is. Now, if you think greedy microtransactions and insane grind is as bad as it gets, well, then you're right. But don't worry, because there's still a lot more issues with this game, with one of the biggest being this. For some fucking reason, the geniuses over at Polyphony thought making this racing game with a single player, always online, was the right way to go. Now, if you don't know what an always online game is, it's basically a game that forces you to have an internet connection to play. This system makes sense for games with no single player content, like World of Warcraft, but for a driving game with a 27-hour-long single player, why the fuck would you even think about doing this? Because if you live in a rural area with a bad internet connection and you want to play some Gran Turismo, too bad! Get better Wi-Fi. If you wanted to play some Gran Turismo 7, but your power goes out because there's a fucking storm or something like that, too bad! Go pick a fight with Zeus. Or God forbid, the Gran Turismo servers go offline, well then guess what? Too bad you're not playing. Uh-oh, the Gran Turismo servers went offline for 30 hours. This is not a joke. This is something that actually happened. After the 1.07 patch, there was a bug that wouldn't let players boot the game up properly. So in an attempt to fix that bug, there was going to be server maintenance for a few hours. Then those few hours quickly turned into 5 hours, then 10 hours, then 15 hours, then a whole day went by, still no signs of life, and then a whopping 30 hours later, the servers finally came back online. And you could play the game that you paid money for. In those 30 hours, guess what players could do in Gran Turismo 7? Nothing! You could play like 1 or 2 races with bots for no credits. That's all you could do. The single player campaign was unavailable because there was no internet connection, because remember, this is an always online game, even if you're playing single player. So because the servers went offline, fuck you, no Gran Turismo for you. Yeah, this deserves to be Sony's worst reviewed game, worse than Battlefield. Sony, stop the bullshit, remove the microtransactions, or at least just lower the prices to what they were in Sport, revert the credits back to how they used to be before the 1.07 patch, and stop being such fucking greedy assholes.
Give us money, you dumb bitch.
Money! Money! Money!